وادرا ويول. Coming you in our second day of the international conference, Zaytoun International Conference, the sixth conference, of course. And we hope that you have stayed well day yesterday, and we starting our second day with our keynote, Dr. Mohammed Salah Abidat. And I would like really to introduce Dr. Abidat. Dr. Abidat is an international well-known academic, researcher, scientist. He received his PhD and MS degree in computer engineering with a major in computer science, a minor in computer science from the Ohio State University. He has received extensive research funding and has published over 15 books and over 570 referred technical articles. Dr. Abidat is the editor-in-chief of 3 scholarly journals and is also an editor, advisor, editor of numerous international journals and transactions, including IEEE journals, transactions. He has chaired numerous international conferences and given numerous keynote speeches all over the world until very recently. Prof. Abidat served as the president of the Society for Modeling and Simulation International, SCS. He served as the advisor to the president of Philadelphia University for Research, Development, and IT. He also served as the chair of the Department of Computer Science and Software Engineering and as the director of graduate program at Manhattan University in New Jersey. He is an IEEE distinguished speaker, ACM distinguished literature, and SCS distinguished literature. He serves as a consultant for various Intel organizations and companies. He is an IEEE fellow and as SCS fellow. Dr. Abidat, he will start his lecture and welcoming him as we are welcoming all of you. Mr. Abidat, please start.
Thank you, Dr. Atum, for the nice introduction. Do you hear me? Okay, good. Well, first of all, good morning again. And thank you, Dr. Atum, for the nice introduction. And I would like to thank Zaytoun University for inviting me to be a keynote speaker in this conference. Specifically, I would like to thank my good friend, Professor Ali Dahoud Zabi, for also keeping me in the loop of this conference since it started. Actually, it's not my first time giving keynote in this conference, so I am one of you. So I've been around since the inception of this conference. I just came actually last night from Athens, Greece. I chaired IEEE CIT's conference there, which was a very successful conference, and surprisingly, the weather in the Mediterranean is hotter than usual in May, so it was very hot like here. It was extremely hot. Again, it's a pleasure to be here, and my talk is about trends and challenges in ICT, and in a way, part of this talk is based on our newly published book by Elsevier. It was published earlier this year, titled Handbook of the Green ICT, Green Information and Communication System. I told Dr. Atum that I have more slides than to fill in the allotted time. So if you let me speak, probably we'll end up staying in this room until 5 p.m. That's why I asked him to signal to me when I have just 10 minutes to finish. Otherwise, probably we'll not have dinner. At least we'll not have lunch. Okay, my research area spans these kind of fields: wireless networking and communication, telecommunication and networking, green ICT, security of network information system, security of e-based system, performance evaluation, modeling and simulation, adaptive learning and learning automata. Actually, I even worked in areas like digital watermarking, probably some of you is involved in this area, and even some biomedical engineering research I had, including the computer. It's not good? I thought? Okay. Is it better now? Okay, so I have to carry a mic in my hand this time. Can we replace it by this one? Okay, I will move, you mean? Okay, good, good. Okay. This is the book which was published early this year, January 2013, by Elsevier. Actually, should be there. As I said, I will be talking about trends and challenges in ICT. Okay. So, among these trends is that we start to create the ICT community more carbon dioxide than usual. And we are about to exceed that emission from aviation industry. The problem in our case is that that is increasing at a higher rate than aviation industry. One of the main issues and concern for green ICT is that we have 2 or maybe 3 countries that all of a sudden became newly industrialized countries, specifically China, India, and Brazil. China and India together, they make up for about 40% of the world population. China and India. China is about 1.3 billion people, and India has 1.18 billion people. So these together, they make 40% of the world population. If you go back 15 years ago, we used to watch on TV in the States, you know, Chinese returning back from work on bicycles. Nowadays, you don't see much bicycles in Beijing. Actually, Beijing now is the most polluted city in the world. Everybody is having a car. Everybody is having money. It's not socialism, it is capitalism, by the way. I go there at least 3 times a year. I mean, lots of money in universities, and people are making money, buying car. If you live in big city like Beijing or Shanghai, you cannot buy a car, you have to get a permit. Not because of socialism or communism, no, it's because they want to regulate it, otherwise there will be a problem. There is no space for these cars, and there is lots of pollution. Actually, the US Embassy, you know, they always tell its inhabitants what is the level of carbon dioxide each day they report it. And you have to meet certain criteria to buy a car in Beijing, for example, and Shanghai. What I want to say that these countries, you know, if you go back up to 20 years ago, they were developing nations like these countries in the Middle East. And all of a sudden, you know, they start to burn lots of oil, lots, you know, and pollute a lot. Okay. Not just that, you know, China is no longer, as I said, a communist country, but it is a capitalist country. It's capitalism there. Everybody can own any business. And they are billionaires in China. I mean, last year I chaired a conference in Rome, Italy. And I found around Rome lots of Chinese tourists, which we usually don't see in the past. We did not see. So these people, they have money, they start buying ICT devices and tools, and in a way they contribute to the pollution. I had a panel, I gave a keynote speech 3 years ago in Hangzhou, China. It's a very nice city, probably some of you was there. Probably the cleanest city in China, Hangzhou. It has the West Lake, which is beautiful. And we're in a panel as part of the activity of the conference, and next to me was the Deputy Minister of Industry in China. And we talked about that. I like his statement. He said, we produce 85% of the world of products. If you want us to produce cheap devices and equipment, expect us to produce. So that is his statement. So again, China and India together account for about 40% of the world population. These countries, they have rising economy, and economical growth is impressive. You know, it's 8%. They told me, my friends in the Chinese university, every graduate gets a job. And that's not good for US universities. We don't get many Chinese students now in America. Okay, we still get Indian, but not many Chinese. Because Chinese students, especially the graduates, they can make money while they study there in China. Okay? But when they come to the States, they don't guarantee the money they could make. So ICT industry CO2 trace is about to surpass that of aviation industry. But the problem there is the rate of increase of energy consumption and corresponding CO2 emission is doubling almost every 5 years in the case of ICT. It's predicted that ICT industry expends between 5 to 10% of the world energy, and half of these are from personal computers and mobile phones. Most of the service providers, wireless or cellular companies, most of the cost for their service is due to power supplies, by the way. And there is now emphasis on power supplies, and there is an initiative called 80+ initiative, which means governments in industrial countries, they are giving incentives to companies to design power supplies that you could utilize 80% of its consumed power. Why? Because currently most of the power produced by the power supplies in our laptops, tablets, PDA, you name it, even cell phones, only we utilize 70 to 75% of the power. The rest is waste. Now there is an initiative, and they give tax incentives for companies so that their power supply, the power produced by supply, we could utilize at least 80%. They call it 80+ initiative. These are some related references. You may want to look at them. These are some of our books related. This is the recent one. This is Cooperative Networking. This was published last year. This is one of our books that has been translated to Chinese, and actually when I was in Hongzhou, in addition to my keynote speech, I was invited to give a talk at Zhejiang University, which is #3 university in China. And I found my picture in the entrance of the department with my book in Chinese, because it was translated to Chinese. But I never seen that book then in Chinese, so it was my first time seeing it. This is our book on performance evaluation, wireless. And this book received best-selling award, in 2004. And so over the past decade or so, ICT influence in our society and economy has advanced to the point of inclusive reliance. Most of you in this room, including myself, the first thing we did this morning is to go right away before taking a shower and switch our laptops or 3G phone in order to check our email or see things related to that. So we are addicted to ICT technology. Individuals and organizations rely heavily on ICT on a daily basis. So we are paying a price, maybe, in terms of their externality in energy consumption and sometimes on unsafe substances. There is a need to give incentives that can encourage novelty and economic opportunities for ICT to decrease global warming. For this end, let us look at ICT novelty landscape for creating economic opportunity from two viewpoints. The first viewpoint is getting rid of the direct carbon trail of ICT industry itself. We need to reduce that, or getting rid of it. Second, using ICT reward. We need to give incentives to industry to reduce CO2 emission, to persuade businesses and customers to accept processes which minimize CO2 discharge. It is vital we first address the carbon footprint of the ICT production. For example, moving physical servers to virtual spaces and services in data centers must be the first phase. And I know in this conference, I think there were papers, and I guess there was a keynote speech about cloud computing. Then we have to convert the data centers to use 100% renewable energy. I mean, in Seville, Spain, they have big plans for solar energy, because Seville is in kind of the south, it's kind of desert, okay, and similar to the weather here in this country, and they produce lots of energy from the sun. I feel sorry sometimes in the Middle East that they don't utilize the gift of God to these nations, which is the sun. It is a gift. If you utilize that energy, it is so clean energy, nice, but people are not utilizing it. I feel sorry for some rich countries in this area who are buying nuclear plants and they have oil, but they don't utilize the sun. It is sad when you see that. Waste of their resources, waste of their money. Buying a green power from energy reseller is one choice. I have a friend of mine at the University of California, Los Angeles. he has passion for green energy. He has solar panels in his house, and the energy company and the state of California gave him incentives in tax. So the material he bought, they don't have tax. They don't have to pay tax for them. And the utility company gave him a two-way meters. So he was selling power to the utility company and buying them in winter sometimes. So he said he makes about $7,000 a year. So he generates power for the utility company and making money instead of selling. And that could be a good incentive to people in this area. We put solar panels and ask the organization who organize energy in this country to force utility companies to have two-way power meters so people can buy and sell power at will. Zero carbon data center from majority part have to be collocated with the renewable energy supplies themselves. Some countries such as Iceland, actually I'm going to, in July there, I'm chairing 2 conferences in Iceland. This will be my first time there, Reykjavik. And these countries, have vigorous programs to support such services. There are additional benefits to reposition data centers close to renewable energy resources. In addition to the removal of the expenditure that produce CO2 discharge, such sites offer more redundancy in terms of business continuity in case of disasters and so on. They may also provide added grounds for carrier and government to construct optical fiber to isolate places to offer high-speed internet. Some people, they believe that wireless is the answer to mobility and to speed. After 100 megabit per second, wireless doesn't work well. You have to use technology like fiber optics. So after 100 megabit per second, quality of service of wireless technology is not as good as you want it. So the answer is fiber optics. And the good news is that fiber optics is a clean energy. It doesn't pollute as much as copper wires and other technologies. There are now initiatives to have next generation network in order to minimize global warming, which also can introduce zero carbon footprint and assist these zero carbon data centers with state-of-the-art optical networks. And actually that's an answer for remote areas in industrial countries. Now, it is possible that constructing zero carbon data centers at distant renewable energy location will also considerably minimize the cost of virtualization and launching application for the next Internet 2 that everybody is talking about. So it makes more sense to bring the data centers to the source of the power than otherwise. As I said, fiber to the home is an appealing broadband method, and actually it's now spread all over the world. In the States, you get fiber to your home now. You get it there. And there is a technology by Verizon called Fiber, okay? Fiber to the home, and you could get the 3 main services, internet, cable TV, and phone using Fios. That is a technology produced by Verizon, which is the service providers in the East Coast, United States, New York, New Jersey, and the surrounding states. Next generation broadband network will require a huge deployment of fiber to the home system deep into the neighborhood. As I said earlier, high-speed wireless access over 100 megabit per second has limited coverage in space. It doesn't perform well. So you need to go back to wired technology, which is optical fiber, will be needed to backhaul the traffic to key routing nodes. And in this country, it's good news actually. I know the previous minister of ICT, and me and him, we served in the advisory board of one of the universities, and he told me that in Jordan we have a good backbone fiber optic network, and I think part of the contribution is due to the Royal Air Force. They contribute to that significantly. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is called, that's international organization, OECD, has issued a study of over 90 government and industry initiatives on green ICT, the environment and climate change. The report concludes that schemes tend to focus on the greening ICT themselves rather than on their real implementation to deal with the global warming and environmental degradation. So only 20% of programs have measurable aims. It's important to measure outcomes. And in academia, all of us are in academia almost there. It's important to measure outcome. We call it learning outcomes, and that's why outcome assessments in academia is important. There are currently 26 US states that have set up statewide recycling program for outdated computers and consumer electronic equipment. Actually, in the state I live in New Jersey, we have initiative from the state. They encourage every citizen to replace his or her household devices by energy-saving household devices. And they give you incentive to do that. They give you about $100 per home, and when you recycle it, when they take it to recycle it for you, they give you $50. So you get about $150 from the government. Actually, it's $200 now. Yeah, $200 from the government, which is almost half the price of the fridge, for example. And not just that, by buying a new fridge, you cut the consumption of energy to about there. So you end up saving lots of money and saving the environment, which is very nice initiative. And these devices, they are marked. They call it star energy. They have to be marked and tested. So when you buy there, they tell you this is energy saving. You buy it, you get they get the coupon, you send it to the state, they give you back a check, and then they take your address and they come to your home. They give you $50 and they take the whole device and recycle it. Okay? Because in these countries it's hard to throw out these devices. It costs money. Good, thank you. So I'm in the online now. All over the world. Very nice. Good, good. Thank you. Okay, in 2009, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was signed as a law by President Obama, and that bill allotted about $70 billion to be invested in green initiatives such as renewable energy, smart grids, energy efficiency, and other ways. The Department of Energy in 2010 awarded $47 million to the ARP money towards a project that aimed to improve energy efficiency of data centers. There is a Green Electronic Council that provides electronic product environment assessment tool to assist in the purchase of green computing systems. The council assesses computing equipment on 51 criteria. 23 of these are required and the remaining 28 are optional. And they mark them like frequent flyer cards, gold, silver, bronze, and so on. In 2007, President George W. Bush issued executive order which obliged all United States federal agencies to use electronic product environment assessment tool when purchasing computers. The Green Grid is a global group devoted to improving energy efficiency in data centers and business computing ecosystems. There is also Climate Saver Computing Initiative, which is an endeavor to decrease electric power expenditure of PCs and other related devices. And we have also the Gartner Group claims that PC manufacturing procedures make for about 70% of the natural resources used in the life cycle of the PC. That means the major contribution to green computing usually is to extend the life of the equipment. Although we prefer to change our device, but it is for the environment, it is better to extend the life of the current devices by adding more memories and so on. So this is not only saves the environment, it reduces the overall computing cost to users. Routing traffic away from centers, data center experience warm weather can save overall energy, as this will not require us to operate the air conditioning unit. And actually that heat, it can be utilized to produce extra energy also. There are some initiatives that offer degree programs. We start to have now curriculum on the green ICT. And I recall 2 of them, one in the UK and one in the United States. IBM Metropolitan Community College, in Omaha, Nebraska, has an associate degree available in administration and management of green data centers. And the Leeds Metropolitan University in the UK offers a year-long graduate course in green computing. So maybe at Zaytuna University want to offer a concentration in that area. A green communication, you could get a green communication using approaches such as time domain energy efficiency, cell switch on off, because in cell communication, sometimes a cell is on, which means its base station is on. But if it has few users, it is unfair, you know, and it is a waste of energy to keep that base station on.